They've often been praised, and rightly so, for their bravery, but the cold realities of being a soldier are suddenly in the spotlight. 8 suspected suicides rocking the Canadian military community over the past 2 months. Live to Tracy Tong with the first of a 2-part series examining the mental health issues of those who go to war for our country. Tracy.
That's right, Gord. Many of the brave men and women of our military are fighting 2 wars, one in the field and one within themselves. We've all heard of post-traumatic stress disorder, but many soldiers are never diagnosed because they just don't reach out for the help they need. As we hear in one soldier's story, he suffered in silence.
I pounded on his chest to wake up, but I knew he was dead.
An image that will haunt Chelsea Bager forever. A week and a half ago, she found her boyfriend, 28-year-old Camilo Sanhueza Martinez, hanging from a doorframe in their Kingston apartment.
It wasn't like what people think. It wasn't like this horrifying, disgusting image. It was like a face that had held so much pain, and it was just all over his face when he died. I don't know how someone could wear so much pain on their face.
No, that was Christmas party at my buddy's place.
It was pain Camilo's family believes he had been masking for a while, ever since he returned in 2010 from an 8-month tour in Afghanistan.
He was never really one to talk about things, to express himself, really get out what he was saying. When he came back, he was even worse. He wouldn't talk about a thing.
Camilo enlisted in the Canadian Army when he was just 18. Described as a jokester, a guy who knew how to create smiles out of thin air, he made friends for life.
We did basic training together. We've done a lot of our courses together. We went on tour together. So he's been a military friend and a friend outside the military for, like I said, 10 years.
Surprisingly, Camilo's family believes that the dark motivation behind his suicide wasn't what he saw and experienced in Afghanistan. You see, when he returned from his overseas contract, he went back to being a part-time soldier, a reservist in the Royal York Regiment here at Fort York. In August, he transferred to CFB Kingston to be with his girlfriend, but part-time work just wasn't enough to pay the bills.
He moved out to Kingston, did the transfer, and he was getting little work, with them once a week, twice a week or whatever, but, he had to go and get a construction job to make ends meet, to pay the bills, and it's not what he wanted to do. He doesn't want to be a construction guy, he wants to be a soldier.
But with a new baby girl and a new apartment, he had to choose responsibility over the dream.
I think he did a lot of things to keep himself busy, but it wasn't enough. Like, at the end of the day, he had to sit with himself and think about it. And I think that's what really got to him, is that he couldn't escape himself.
Somewhere within, there was a battle, and his wounds kept growing. But not once did Camilo seek professional help.
The last thing you want to do is go and tell your boss that you're having a hard time with something. Your boss is going to deny you work in the future, That's what they're scared of. They don't want to come back and say that they're damaged goods. They want to continue being soldiers.
So Camilo suffered quietly until he surrendered on January 8th. But not without a parting gift. Weeks before his suicide, he lovingly made this rattle for his 5-month-old daughter, Alexandra. What do you plan to tell her?
He always told me to tell my daughter, even from a very young age, just to tell her that Daddy's out fighting bad guys.
Now, unfortunately, there are other stories similar to Camilo's. The latest apparent soldier suicide happened just 5 days ago. Tomorrow on City News, the response we got from National Defence when we asked them how they're dealing with the situation some are calling a mental health crisis within the military.